Okay, first grade, it's time for your first art project.
Here we go. Here is your first project. So we are going to be making a cityscape. And a cityscape, as we know from the word wall and just our general knowledge, is a view of a city. Now, one city that you might know pretty well is this one, Charlotte, North Carolina. And Charlotte is going to be our inspiration for our project today. As I'm looking at this picture, I am noticing a few things. First of all, it is a lovely skyline. Second of all, there are some shapes that I already know how to draw in this skyline. I'm going to outline those shapes with my Sharpie just so that you can see them a little bit better. Okay, so I have outlined just a few simple shapes, and mostly in a cityscape you're going to see rectangles, squares, and maybe an occasional triangle. And that's basically it. So if you can draw a rectangle, a square, and a triangles. Whoa, that was a little bit creepy. But if you can draw those shapes, then you can draw a cityscape. So we're going to start out on our paper, and I'm going to take a look at these shapes in order to draw a cityscape. So first, I'm going to draw my horizon line. It's important that your horizon line is straight and from one side of the paper to the other. So here's one way that you can make sure your horizon line is straight. I'm going to put my horizon line in the middle of my paper. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to put it as straight as I possibly can. I hold the ruler with one hand and lock it down. With the other hand, I have my pencil. And I trace on the side of the ruler as straight as I possibly can, all the way across. And then I can lift my hand. And voila, I have a horizon line. Now, on your horizon line, it's important that you know this. All of your buildings should not be floating up in the middle of the air. They should be on the horizon line. So that would be this line that's going to be right under here. So let's get started. I'm going to start out by drawing a really tall rectangle. Easy peasy, right? Well, I'm going to make this a Charlotte building by putting a triangle in it, just drawing a simple line. And then a straight line down from that building. Okay? Now, there's one other building that's really popular, so I'm going to draw it as well. Tall, skinny rectangle. A smaller rectangle on top, then kind of like this triangle on top. On the side, there are rectangles that have a line on the top that kind of leans to the side, a diagonal line that would be. And then skinny, tall rectangles on the side. Just like this. And then I can put the tall skinny things that make it look like a birthday cake or something. I'm not sure what they make it look like, but it's something. Okay, next I'm going to add in some shorter buildings that look kind of like this. I am also going to add just an interesting building that looks like this, just to give it some flair. And there's a tall, skinny rectangle in the middle. Once you're done drawing all of your buildings, kind of like this, don't forget to add a few little details. So maybe some roofs, You could put the towers that are at the top. You can even add maybe a door or window or two, but we will be adding windows later. Then it is time to trace with Sharpie. Here's what it will start to look like once you have traced all your pencil marks in Sharpie. Don't forget to trace your horizon line. Since these are going to be nighttime skylines, you can also feel free to add a moon if you would like. Now we're going to get real crazy with some oil pastels. With the oil pastels, you're going to add the windows or the lights that are in the windows without even drawing them. So watch this. Where there would be windows, I'm going to add yellow lights. Like this. You can also feel free to add lights with different colors, because sometimes the lights on buildings show up and look multicolored, which is pretty cool. So maybe some green, and keep adding colors. Now if you put some towers that are sticking up off the buildings, you also want to add red lights around them, because those towers usually have warning or emergency lights that show up red. So I'm going to color red on top of this one, red on top of this one, and keep adding lights until you fill up your building. Keep adding lights till you fill up all your buildings. Don't forget to take either a white or a really light color, maybe a yellow, and color over your moon. You can even color in just a few areas, not all the areas, just a few, with some solid color. After you do that, it's time to make the reflection. A reflection, like what we're going to make, we're going to pretend this is water. A reflection shows up in the nighttime as really bright light, but it's kind of blurry. So a reflection is going to be something like this. In this building, I have yellow light. So I'm going to pick up my handy dandy yellow oil pastel, and I'm going to make a reflection in the water by drawing lines that go straight down, just like this. I'm then going to make some other color reflections, mixing in the colors of lights that I put in the building. So color back and forth, horizontally like this, underneath your buildings, not way down here in the water, underneath your buildings, kind of like this. There's a little bit of green in here, a little more yellow, underneath all the buildings, maybe a little bit of orange. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding some colors. Some pink. Boys, you don't have to add pink if you don't want to. And even some red, just to reflect the red. Now, don't forget to add a reflection of your moon. So I used white. So I'm going to put just a little bit of white down here. And then, after you finish adding all your reflections, you're going to take your finger just this one time. No, normally we do not want to smudge, but for this we do. And you're going to smudge the colors together, just like this. Now, after you smudge your colors together, and notice that I only did it this way across the paper, horizontally, not up and down, but horizontally. After you do that, you're going to need to find your way to the sink so that you can wash your hands off.